绿灯，进站凭证，好了。
绿灯，进站凭证，好了。8公里追。
8公里追。
On April 21st, 2022, the Zhengzhou to Puyang high-speed rail line entered the testing phase before its official operation. The speed at which high-speed trains meet while in motion has different impacts on safety and comfort. China's high-speed train sets have been conducting tests on the highest possible meeting speeds in order to provide passengers with a faster and safer travel experience. And Chunli and Kaohsiung departed from Puyang East Railway Station, heading towards Zhengzhou East Railway Station, while another team of colleagues set out from Zhengzhou East Railway Station. They were challenging for a new world record.
速度435公里。
速度435公里。
The two test trains set a new record for the relative meeting speed of 870 km per hour. The time they passed each other was only 0.86 seconds. After the meeting speed test, Cao Qianwei received another piece of good news. With 10 years of work experience, he was promoted to the position of instructor driver. Good news must be shared with family. The gift he prepared for his son seemed very creative to others. But perhaps his son doesn't think so. Of course, for family members, being together is the best gift.
小建国，你看这是啥高铁？你知道不？这是叫复兴号高铁。
爸爸，为啥这个不行？
这个不行，这个你可以打开呀。哎，这个干了，好了，是不是？
也是坐。
对，爸平常工作的时候就在那里面。那是司机室，那是开火车的地方。
Cao Qianwei has always held a belief: faster speeds are for arriving sooner. And arriving sooner is for living more slowly.
快点，快追上了啊！你不要跑那么大的圈，你跑那么大的圈，把都追上你。
While their family was happy, a foreign friend also quietly arrived in Zhengzhou. Neil, a native of New Zealand, once described himself as a migratory bird, constantly fluttering its wings in search of a place to settle in its favorite season. Like the mute swan, Neil has never left Zhengzhou after arriving. The inclusiveness of this city attracted him. Living here, he doesn't need to change his lifestyle and doesn't feel like an outsider. Of course, he has also undergone some changes.
微信收看重点。
Neil enjoys these changes, and even the spicy hula tang doesn't bother him at all. With a passion for cuisine and architecture, Neil loves to wander around when he has free time. Songshan Mountain stands out as the place he has visited the most. Since ancient times, Songshan Mountain has attracted talents, scholars, and emperors for various reasons. Emperor Wu Zetian visited Songshan Mountain 8 times and completed the grand ceremony of sealing and sacrificing to heaven and earth here. On the peak of Songshan Mountain, looking in the direction of the Yellow River, Li Bai composed a poem inviting a toast. Haven't you seen the waters of the Yellow River come from the heavens, rushing to the sea and never returning? The Comprehensive Mirror to Aiding Governance, Zizi Tengjian, an important chronological history book in China, was edited by Sima Guang. Volumes 9 to 21 of this work were also completed on Songshan Mountain. Su Zun boldly confessed his love for Mount Song, having traveled extensively throughout the world and fallen in love with Mount Song. I now desire to purchase land here and settle down with my wife and children. This was his ideal place to live. What attracts Neil most about Songshan Mountain is the historic monuments of Dengfeng in the center of heaven and earth, which seem to have a magical charm. Every time he visits, he's filled with a sense of novelty. Shaoxi Q, the earliest surviving surface architectural structure in China, dates back nearly 2,000 years to the Eastern Han Dynasty. The hunting scenes, circus performances, and Kyuju games depicted on its walls are all primitive yet lively and lifelike, subtly revealing the splendor of the Han Dynasty through the intricate details of the carvings. In the Tallinn, Neil encountered Chinese Kung Fu by chance. Being very proactive, he saw this as a golden opportunity to seek out a master and learn the art, which he could not miss.
Hello.
Hello, do you like Shaolin Kung Fu?
I do. I like it a lot.
I can teach you a little.
Wow, that would be great.
Yeah, come here.
Stop. Stop. Stop.
Okay, jump up.
Stop. 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 You are very good.
The master was very enthusiastic, and the apprentice was also serious about learning. But as for his movements and techniques, let's just say they were somewhat so-so or passable. The Songyu Temple Pagaday, an important destination for Neil on this trip. This 12-sided pagoda, the only one of its kind in China, is the earliest brick pagoda still existing in the country. Neil knew that a landmark building in Zhengzhou City was inspired by the Songyu Temple Pagoda. The people of Zhengzhou habitually refer to it as the Big Corn Cob. It stands prominently in Zhengdong district of Zhengzhou City. Its shape and curves, similar to those of the Songyu Temple Pagoda, narrate the evolution of architectural styles and the continuity of architectural art. The beauty of architecture attracts Neil, and similarly, it once captivated the attention of a pair of architects. In the late 1920s, after studying architecture in the United States, Liang Xikeng returned to China and deeply the nearly deserted state of the field of Chinese architecture. A foreign scholar publicly stated that the research on ancient Chinese architecture should be left to foreigners. Unwilling to admit defeat, Liang Xikeng embarked on a journey to survey ancient Chinese buildings. leading his team through war-torn and chaotic times across the vast land of China. All of this originated from a book called Jingzhou Fashi. After reading it, he was filled with both amazement and fascination. The author of this book is Li Ye. Li Ye, a native of Xinzheng, lived during the Northern Song dynasty. He served as the director of the Imperial Works Bureau during the reigns of Emperor Xizong and Emperor Hizong of Song, overseeing palace construction. The economic prosperity of the Northern Song dynasty led to the launch of a series of civil engineering projects. Subsequently, a headache for the imperial court emerged. During the construction process, officials responsible for projects in various regions had considerable discretion, and they racked their brains to cut corners and enrich themselves at the expense of the projects. First, to strictly regulate architectural standards through both written and graphical means. Second, to establish universally applicable building codes across the country in order to curb corruption in the industry. This was a systematic project with a huge workload, but fortunately, Li Ye was fully qualified for it. Architecture is not only a profession, but also an art that requires a craftsmanship mindset and a love for the beauty of buildings. Li Ye possessed both of these qualities. Through his lifelong efforts, Jingzhou Fashi was completed, which is a precious cultural legacy that Li Ye left to future generations. "800 years later, the architect Liang Xikeng gave Jingzhou Fashi a very high evaluation. Jingzhou Fashi is the most comprehensive technical book on architecture in ancient Chinese literature. Its nature is somewhat similar to today's design manuals combined with building codes. It is an indispensable reference book for studying Song Dynasty architecture and ancient Chinese architecture. Liang Xikeng held Li Ye in high esteem, and he named his son Liang Kongji, which means to follow in the footsteps of Li Ye. Liang Xikeng also visited the foot of Mount Song. His investigation of the Songyu Temple Pagoda deeply impressed upon him the urgency of protecting ancient buildings. In a list of key cultural relics he compiled, the Songyu Temple Pagoda was prominently marked. In 2010, the 11 historic buildings at 8 locations within the Center of Heaven and Earth Historic Monuments of Mount Song, including the Shaoxi Gateway Tower and the Songyu Temple Pagoda, were inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List and officially became World Cultural Heritage Sites. Neil didn't fully understand the relationship between Li Ye and Liang Xikeng, but standing in front of Li Ji's statue, he still felt a great sense of admiration. Similarly, because of Li Ye, Neil began to develop an interest in Song Dynasty culture. This is the Yesong Wenhui studio located in Huiji district. The owner of the studio puts guests to experience the art of 7 brew tea ceremony from the period of Emperor Hizong of Song. The so-called Dian Cha involves pouring hot water slowly over finely powdered tea and continuously whisking it with a chaxian until a rich foam forms. The action of pouring hot water is referred to as Dian. Among the guests experiencing to culture, Neil's rugged and muscular appearance stood out as being quite different. However, his effort to embrace elegance still earned him the most attention from the instructor. During the Song dynasty, from emperors to common people, everyone enjoyed the pleasures of Dian Cha tea, whisking and Do Cha tea competition. It's unclear whether Neil has experiencst the joy of it.
Neil 这是感情深，一口闷啊！
Neil is a true expert on Zhengzhou, and it can be said that he knows the city better than many locals. Whenever he sees scenery similar to his hometown, a wave of nostalgia surges in his heart. At the core of Neil's nostalgia lies his mother. Neil knows where to buy inexpensive yet stylish Chinese clothes.
然后它还有一个中国风比较洋气的小碎花，然后材质的。
Every so often, he visits the Yingji Trade City to pick out a few gifts for his mother. This is another way to express his longing and affection.
Hello Mum, I've chose these two clothes for you. Which ones would you like?
Recently, Neil plans to buy a house and has set his sights on Zhengdong New District or the airport economic zone. Settling down and choosing a city to spend the rest of one's life in is a habit for most Chinese people. It seems that Neil has already adopted the local customs. Neil loves to climb up the Zhongyuan Tower to gaze at the bustling city traffic, and he enjoys driving along the Yellow River Dam, where he can let go of his freedom and relieve his stress. He has become accustomed to everything here and is enjoying his newfound habits. He often thinks back to his initial connection with Zhengzhou. 5 years ago, Neil rode his newly bought motorcycle from Zhejiang to Henan to handle vehicle transfer procedures in Zhesuo. During the few days of waiting, he had a whim and bought a high-speed rail ticket to Zhengzhou. At that time, he only intended to take a leisurely stroll, but little did he know that this stroll would last for 5 years. Now, Zhengzhou is no longer a temporary stopover, but Neil's permanent home. Neil often says that he is very lucky to have found Zhengzhou and expresses his gratitude towards the city. For a city, having citizens who love it is equally a blessing. Here is Beilonghu Wetland Park, featuring an expansive lake surface and abundant aquatic plants. In the winter of 2019, a special couple arrived in Zhengzhou. Perhaps it was the favorable living environment that convinced them to stop and stay. Early warblers compete for sunny trees, and whose new swallows peck at spring mud. birds vote with their wings for the quality of the ecological environment. Mute swans are migratory birds, but after they arrived here, they never migrated again. The next spring, something even more surprising happened. Their 6 cygnets were successfully born. Mute swans primarily breed in northwest China, and successful breeding in central China is a rare occurrence. Upon their debut, the Zhengzhou-born cygnets instantly became the special darlings of the city. The 6 cygnets, with their pale brown-grey heads and necks and greyish-brown body feathers, are still ugly ducklings at this stage. Mute swans are highly vigilant and have a strong sense of territory. During the breeding season, the swan parents will strongly reject any intruders who approach. The cygnets follow their parents to learn foraging and other survival skills, and they even patrol their territory with a sense of authority. Under the careful care of their parents, the cygnets gradually grow up and their bodies slowly resemble those of adult birds. They begin to forage for food by themselves. However, their favorite activity is still lounging in the sunshine lazily. Following closely in the footsteps of the mute swans, the hooper swans also arrived here. The most distinct difference between them lies in their heads. The mute swan has a black knob on its forehead, while the hooper swan does not have this feature. Regardless of the species, both types of swans receive equal attention from people. In the spring, the hooper swans begin their return to northern breeding grounds, while the mute swan family chooses to continue living here. Changes in urban planning concepts and improvements in the ecological environment have attracted these beautiful creatures to Zhengzhou, the Green City. Birds are an indispensable part of a city. They never participate in grand construction projects, but their presence brings vitality and life to the city. Flowers bloom amidst red trees with warbling orioles. Grass grows on the lake with egrets flying. Biodiversity is the best proof of the improvement of urban ecology.
咱们继续来参观博物馆啊！这里有个黄色的鸟，看到了没有？谁会背古诗呀？黄鹂的？
我会。
好，背一下。
两个黄鹂鸣翠柳，一行白鹭上青天。
哎呀，真好真好，小朋友们鼓掌。咱们看，这就是优美天鹅，在咱们郑州啊，郑州的北龙湖、嘉路河，这几年就有这种天鹅在这地方生儿育女。咱们再继续向下面去参观，好不好？好。你要前面带路。
Li Changkan, curator of Zhengzhou Natural Museum and professor of biology, is dedicated to the research and conservation of birds. For over 30 years, Li Changkan's presence has been felt in cities, forests, wetlands, and along the Yellow River. Through years of observation and research, he has become thoroughly familiar with the birds in the surrounding areas. Similarly, he has also deeply felt the ecological changes occurring in the vicinity of the city. Zhengzhou Yellow River Wetland. There is a place called Langchengong, which lies on the central route of China's 3 major migratory bird flyways, and serves as an important stopping over point. This is the place where Li Changken visits most frequently. Once, this was the location of the Langchengong Township government, where a large number of residents lived. With the advancement of ecological priority and enhanced ecological protection and governance efforts in the Yellow River Basin, people have given back more living space to birds and other organisms. There are many wetlands surrounding Zhengzhou that possess ecological conditions suitable for bird habitation. In 2012, while observing birds, Li Changken suddenly spotted the bear's pochard, known as the panda of birds. However, his excitement was short-lived as they disappeared the next day. Due to their extremely stringent requirements for water quality, the population of bears pochard is extremely rare, with less than 1,000 individuals globally. The International Union for Conservation of Nature has listed it as a critically endangered species, and its related investigation, monitoring, and protection efforts have received high attention from the international community. Relying on his intuition for tracing birds, Li Changken followed the possible trajectory and kept searching. In the wetlands of the old Yellow River course in Henan, he made a significant discovery. Upon counting, it was found that there were actually dozens of bears' pochards living there. While observing and studying them, Li Changken put forward many suggestions to the management department that would be more conducive to the survival of bears' pochards, and these suggestions were adopted. Through relentless efforts, bears' pochards received better protection. In 2017, the number of bears' pochards living there reached 280. Mount Song inspires Zhengzhou with its rich history and culture, while Mount Mang, with its inward-looking and centered character, provides long-lasting care to Zhengzhou. The Yellow River, with its momentum of rushing to the sea, gives this land its roots and soul. With the advancement of ecological protection and high-quality development in the Yellow River Basin, as well as the construction of ecological corridors and national cultural parks along the Yellow River. The middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River have now become a major overwintering site for migratory birds. Every winter, nearly 30,000 wild swans migrate from Sanmenxia in Henan Province to Dongjing in Shandong Province to overwinter along the Yellow River. The wetlands of the Old Yellow River course in Henan have been recognized as an internationally important wetland. Li Changken is very fond of the story of Shongtang's opening 3 sides of the net. He believes that we are now in an era where all 4 sides of the net have been opened. Both visible and invisible nets are being dismantled. Birds now live in a world without nets, only filled with love. This is the newly completed Henan Science and Technology Museum, which has a special exhibition hall called Animal Home on the first floor. Before its opening, they invited Li Changken to provide more suggestions. Li Changken happily accepted the invitation, because in his view, only when people understand animals more can they more actively participate in ecological protection. In the spring of 2022, a pair of mute swans successfully hatched 9 cygnets, gradually expanding their family. Li Changken often says that over the past 3 decades, he has witnessed Zhengzhou's gradual development and the continuous improvement of its ecology and environment. This is a city full of hope. As night falls, Li Changken is once again waiting all night in his tent at the Zhengzhou Yellow River wetland, anticipating the arrival of new life. Meanwhile, not far away in the city, the lights are beginning to glow. And Chunli is also telling his own story. And Chunli, born into a family with a long history in the railway industry, says that he grew up listening to the sound of train whistles in Zhengzhou, his hometown. In 2013, the first China-Europe freight train departed from Zhengzhou Puxian Station on its way to Hamburg. This was a long relay race, and Chunli stood out among more than 500 drivers to take the first lap as the lead driver. His connection with the China-Europe freight trains began from then on. Afterwards, he safely operated 865 China-Europe freight trains. " 2019 was a year full of challenges for Chunli. In this year, the Zhengzhou Taiyuan high-speed railway opened, and after 3 months of intense training, he was fortunate enough to become the first driver to operate on this new line. Starting from Zhengzhou East Railway Station and arriving at Taiyuan South Railway Station, he successfully completed the maiden voyage task of driving the high-speed train. On June 20, 2022, the Zhengzhou-Puyang section of the high-speed railway officially opened for operation. and An Chunli was again chosen to be the first driver. It was this maiden voyage that completed the last stroke of Zhengzhou's rice-shaped high-speed rail network, making Zhengzhou the first city in China to have a rice-shaped high-speed rail hub. An Chunli's professional resume now includes another memorable moment. From freight transportation to passenger transportation, An Chunli has witnessed the development of Zhengzhou International Land Port and experienced the Zhengzhou speed. There is a scene that has always been imprinted in An Chunli's mind. It was a scene he caught in a flash while driving the high-speed train back to Zhengzhou. On the south bank of the Yellow River, standing on the Mang Mountain, are the statues of Emperor Yan and Emperor Huang, which are both familiar and/or inspiring. This is the most memorable scene he has seen from the driver's cab since starting his career as a train driver. In front of the statues of Emperor Yan and Emperor Huang is the site of China's first Yellow River railway bridge. The history of Zhengzhou's railways began with this bridge. In the late Qing dynasty, a plan was in the making. That was in 1889. By the end of the 19th century, the Qing dynasty, which had been bullied by foreign powers, was impoverished and weak, and the people were suffering. Learning from the strengths of foreign powers to resist their aggression became a commonly advocated strategy for saving the country among people of insight. Governor Zhong Zhidong petitioned the emperor to build the Luhan Railway, which would connect the north and the south. It took 6 years before this request was approved. At that time, the Qing dynasty even relied on loans to pay reparations, and it was obviously difficult for it to bear the huge expenditure of building a railway. With Zhong Zhidong's mediation, the decision was ultimately made to borrow money from Belgium. The reason for choosing Belgium was that they had the technology and experience to build railways. More importantly, compared to other major and powerful countries, Belgium's intentions towards the Qing dynasty were not obvious, posing the least threat. Zhong Zhidong proposed to the Belgian Railway Company, "Please select and send first-class engineers, and bring many surveyors and foreign craftsmen to survey and draw maps section by section." Engineer Sadit, along with his exploration team, arrived in China. Building a railway bridge across the Yellow River was a crucial project, and Zhong Zhidong realized that the location of the railway bridge was related to the successful opening of the Luhan Railway. The exploration team was also well aware of this, and they carried out surveying and mapping work along the Yellow River. The Kaifeng section of the Yellow River has a wide river surface and loose soil, which made the exploration team retreat in the face of difficulty. The Luyang section of the Yellow River required opening a path through rugged mountains, which would involve huge engineering and financial investments, and was therefore not the best choice. Ultimately, the surveying and mapping results from Mang Mountain excited Sadit greatly. His choice was the throat of the Yellow River, which coincided with Zhong Zhidong's prediction. Zhong Zhidong stated in his memorial to the emperor, the crossing of the Yellow River should be near Xings. Near Xings refers to the foot of Mang Mountain in Xinjiang, which is also the boundary between the middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River. From this point downstream, the Yellow River's channel becomes a suspended river above the ground due to the deposition of a large amount of sediment. In the more than 2,600 years of definite records, the Yellow River has breached 1,593 times, changed its course significantly 26 times, and undergone major realignments 7 times. The spider's web-like old courses of the Yellow River have created a huge fan shape on the vast plain lowlands east of the Taihong Mountains, west of the Shandong Hills, and from Tianjin to Yangzhou. Mang Mountain acts like the hub of this fan, blocking the possibility of the Yellow River shifting southwards. In 1906, after 11 years of construction, the Luoyang-Hankou Railway, China's first major north-south transportation artery, was completed and opened to traffic. The regions along its route understood that this was an opportunity for development. Zhengzhou, located at the foot of Mang Mountain, has since forged an inseparable bond with railways. In 1909, the Bianluo section of the first east-west the Longhai Railway was completed. Zhengzhou, located in the middle of Bianzhou and Luoyang, was once again favored, becoming the first place in China to possess a cross-shaped railway line. This ancient commercial city began its new story. In order to seek out more memories of Zhengzhou, and Chunli and his daughter arrived at the final destination of their trip. The Zhengzhou 1948 themed street district will show you what Zhengzhou looked like in 1948. One by one, the old photos and artifacts were also novel to the daughter. The signs of time-honored brands were filled with the past. The once bustling and lively old neighborhood seemed to truly come back to life. The atmosphere of street life was filled with the flavor of old Zhengzhou. Yet stepping out, one is greeted by another kind of bustling prosperity. The magnificent commercial metropolis of Zhengzhou, in harmony with the pace of China's development, is continuing to write a new legend. It might surprise you to know that, although her father is a train driver, a 14-year-old girl has never ridden on a train before. This summer vacation, and Chunli decided to accompany his daughter on her first ride. With different wishes in mind, these two special passengers embarked on their journey. An important part of Chunli's travel plan was to let his daughter understand the development history of China's railways. Every 10 to 15 minutes, a high-speed train passes over the current Yellow, a railway bridge, at a speed close to 300 kilometers per hour. Upstream from it is the site of the first Yellow River Railway Bridge. When the Luoyang-Hankou Railway was completed in 1906, trains were limited to a speed of 10 kilometers per hour when crossing the bridge. The two bridges are separated by only 700 meters, but they stand as a testament to a century's worth of time. While the daughter could feel the high speed of the train, it was difficult for her to understand her father's emotions as he crossed the bridge. However, there was one thing that both father and daughter could relate to: the impact of railways on their lives. This is a small, fourth-class station on the Longhai Railway, and it is also the best-preserved century-old station on the Longhai Line. Standing in front of it, one can immediately sense its uniqueness. with red tiles, blue bricks, and a mottled exterior wall. It is a station building designed in the style of a palace or temple. The Xinglong railway station was built by Belgians in 1913, and more than a century later, it still imparts a sense of elegance and refinement. This small station is located near the Zhengzhou-Suzhou high-speed railway line. It can hear the roaring sound of high-speed trains passing by in the distance and watches as passenger trains depart from its vicinity. Xinglong railway station resembles a retired old man. Although it no longer serves passenger transport, it has witnessed the development of China's railways from the steam era to the electrical era, and then to the high-speed rail era, Zhengzhou. From having a cross-shaped railway line in 1909 to a rice grain-shaped high-speed rail network in 2022, and from Zhengdong New Area to China's first national-level airport economic comprehensive experimental zone, has undergone changes in speed and space that have made the city more open and confident. This ancient commercial city has embarked on a new chapter of its own story.
在很近的地方。